Okay, so in this video, we wanted to address some of the discipline issues that we see happening frequently up here in the nursery that are inevitably going to happen, and even things that you all have as nursery workers specifically talked with us about. But before we do that, I do want to offer some encouragement and help us to think more clearly about the ministry of nursery volunteers. We are one of the people that God has put in these little people's life to be ministers of the gospel to them. And I don't want to look over the privilege that is, that we are one of the few people during this really important time of their life to be ministering the gospel to them, to be showing them the love of Christ in a really unique way. And so as you come in here, don't come in here begrudgingly. We know how difficult it can be to work in the nursery. We know how tired you are after a Sunday working in the nursery. But just know that God can use a joyful, grateful heart for so much good in these children's lives and so much good in their families' lives as well. So we would just love to encourage you to come in here prayerfully, expecting the Lord to work through you in these children, expecting the gospel to really bring light to these hearts, these little hearts, and to see this as an opportunity that you have to minister not only to these children, but to all of the families that these children represent in the church. And I think that we can rightly expect fruit from that. We can expect that God will use everything that we can offer him here for good in the families of this church and ultimately for the building up of his kingdom. So that's our goal, and we just want to say it again because we know how difficult it can be to come in here with a right heart and a right mind, but we really are doing kingdom work behind these walls, and we just want to acknowledge that to all of you and thank all of you for that work. And continue to encourage you to be prayerful about it, to be expectant for the Lord to work, and to use your time in the nursery to just be ministers of his gospel and grace to these children.
All right. I wanted to also get on here and just talk through how we can even get the children's attention. So when there are even 5 children, really. We never have that little, but even when there are only 5 children, you sometimes need something that can get their attention just to make sure that all of them are listening and all of them are paying attention to what is next on the schedule, or maybe if there are a handful of them at once that are doing, they're all running, or they're all picking up a chair, whatever it might be. Just something that can get their attention as a whole. Something that I do a lot of times when I'm in the nursery with all of the children, I will say something like, if you can hear my voice, clap once. And then I'll make my voice a little bit calmer and a little bit quieter, and I'll say, if you can hear my voice, touch your nose. And if you can hear my voice, pat your head. So I'll keep going down a little bit quieter just to help them remember that they're getting, someone is speaking to them and they need to be able to listen. So their voices are getting lowered, and that just tends to help reel them in a little bit better. One specific thing that we wanted to talk about was just how to handle a certain behavior. We're going to go with an extreme. We're going to go with hitting, just because it does happen, just because they are children and they are learning, and we all have sinful natures. And so there is going to be a child that might hit at some point, and that is 100% normal. And 100% to be expected, I think. I think we need to expect it, to be honest. So we have policies in place to help us with that, just to help us deal with it, to help us encourage parents to handle it and to handle it well. So what we want to do is, one, we always want to come alongside a parent and encourage them and love them and be very gracious and gentle with our words when we're speaking to them about, if this child had a hard time doing such and such today. We always just want to be very gentle and very careful with how we're speaking to them, very respectful. They are the ones that are disciplining these children at home and fully raising them. And we want to be gracious and loving towards them. So I say that with just as nursery workers, we want to be careful with how we speak and how we love the parents, I think, as well. But if you have a child that is, let's say, hitting, let's say that one child, he or she has hit another child, or maybe even one of the nursery workers yourself, then we ask that you address it. So just simply speak to them. Hitting is not something that we do. It's not in a loving act towards our neighbor, and towards our friends and towards our teachers. So we want to do something different. Let's use our words. Maybe they're angry about something, and let's talk through it. So speak to it, try to address it. If that is something that has happened again, we suggest that you grab a chair. Sometimes there are chairs actually on the sides of the wall. If there are not and they're all around the table, I think it's better to remove a chair and put it on the side of the wall, just so they don't feel like they're just kind of getting to sit at the table, but kind of like removing them from the situation and having them sit. Sometimes, depending on the child, it might literally mean that you as a nursery worker are kneeling beside them and sitting with them for less than a minute. There are so many other children playing, and sometimes a normal timeout at home might be, 3 to 5 minutes. A timeout in a nursery classroom might be a lot less, just because there are so many more distractions. So just even sitting with them and kneeling with them while they're sitting there, you can talk with them about what just happened, talking through how, you've already asked them that we don't hit. They're still hitting, so what do we call that? We call it disobedience. And God has asked us to obey, so we want to obey. Just simply encourage them to use other ways to tell you what's wrong, or to tell another child what's wrong. Oftentimes it's just because they want something, or they aren't getting it, or whatever that might be. So just talking through with them and showing them what that might look like. Asking them, oh, did you want a toy? Here, I can give you this toy. Or practicing it with them. Even in the parenting practicum, they talked about how sometimes you have to show those things out and give them an example. So give them an example that isn't hitting. Show them something in a different way. After that has been discussed again and you feel comfortable and they are calm and they're not throwing a fit. If they're sitting in timeout and they're still throwing a fit, they might need to keep sitting there for a little bit longer. If all of that has been dealt with, they're welcome to go play, and you can tell them, you're welcome to go play again. Let's try this again. Remember to use our words, whatever that might be. If they have decided at this point to continue to hit, we will ask at this point that you are contacting the parents. And with that being said, again, we want to be gracious with that, of how we contact the parents. But we also want to invite the parents to stay with them in the classroom if they need to. If they want to come in and just be an extra presence in here for them, sometimes that's helpful. If the parents need to take the child to do discipline of their own and then bring them back, they can try it again. And then always remember that the supervisor is also on call. They are on duty. They're usually still up here, or they are downstairs, and you're welcome to text them and ask them any questions, or ask them, hey, can I talk with you through this? I don't know exactly how to talk to a parent. That's why they're here. So please feel free to also reach out to one of them so that the conversation can go well with the parent. We want them to be encouraged in that. Like we said, like Sarah has said, we want to go alongside these parents and love them well as they are trying to discipline their children. So we want to love them well in that.
Right, yeah, and just to, again, encourage us in that we, part of the goal of this ministry isn't just for the children, but for the family as a whole. And so in any way that we can come alongside, long suffer with parents who are really doing the work of disciplining and trying to raise and love their children in the way that God has asked us to, we want to come alongside them. We want to long suffer with them. We want to help them. Feel free also to encourage them to talk with Hannah, or to talk with Kent or John Mark, or anyone even in the counseling the counseling ministry for extra parental advice and help, things that may obviously go above and beyond what you can do here in the nursery. We want, again, to give resources, to offer help and assistance any way that we can. And we do know that a lot of the nursery workers are also parents. And we know that we're all at different levels in our parenting. John Mark and Kent are really attempting to address parenting this whole year, which we're all really excited about. And so we know that we're not all on the same level, and we do also just want to provide assistance for how do you even talk to a child, how do you deal with disciplinary issues. And so we're going to have it's a pamphlet like this size, it's multiple sheets. It's called I think Wise Words for Mom. And it's not going to be something that you would go and get off the wall in order to use for discipline. But if you wanted to come before or after and read through it, or if while there's kind of a lull in the class time you wanted to take a look at it, just know that that's there. It offers really practical advice for how to address specific issues versus that we can speak to our children in regards to different sins that they're dealing with. So if you feel totally clueless in all of this, just know that you're not alone. We've all been there, and a lot of us are still there. And so feel free to ask for help, to ask for assistance, to use the resources, again, that we have at the church. And yeah, just as a final note, I think we want to remember that these little people are our neighbors, and we want to love them well. We want to encourage them well. We want to just be Christ to them, exalt Christ in how we act with them, how we speak with them, how we behave with them. So let's just make sure that we're showing the same respect to these little people that we would show to any other neighbor that we have the opportunity to speak with. Anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.